In the past, Congress's actions, or rather lack of actions, on previously trivial issues has led to some severe consequences. It's because we cannot afford for that to happen again that we must stand on the firmest affirmation of today's piece of legislation. This leads me to my first point. Failure to raise the debt ceiling in the past has led to a downgrade in the United States credit rating. An article by CNN Money on August 6th of 2011 dated the situation that was going on back then. What had happened was that policymakers in Washington could not agree on a piece of legislation which would raise the debt ceiling while at the same time trigger spending cuts. Now, because of this, the S&P had told the United States that their credit rating would be downgraded unless not only did we devise a plan to raise the debt ceiling, but also to tackle our long-term debt. Well, Senators, we still have not gotten to that second goal, but the first one we did not carry out in a prompt manner, and what this led to was the S&P downgrading the United States from its AAA credit rating. Markets went into a panic, and all three major U.S. stock indexes sank between 5 and 7% on that one day. Thousands and thousands of dollars were lost by United States investors, and our constituents suffered because of our inability to agree. Senators, the debt ceiling needs to be able to be raised in a prompt manner so that the market and the American people will not have to suffer like they did before. Now, this links directly with my next point, in that it was solely Congress's inability to act that led to these consequences in the first place. In fact, the same article went on to say that the S&P cited dysfunctional policymaking in Washington as a key factor in the downgrade. It was Congress's inability to agree on so simple of an issue that led to all these horrible consequences for our constituents. Senators, what we must realize is that the debt ceiling is not authorizing further spending. All it is doing is allowing Congress to pay for the obligations that it has already incurred. By choosing not to raise the debt ceiling, what we'd be doing is essentially getting a credit card bill and choosing not to pay it because we're saying, oh, we are going to change our spending habits now. We can't afford to pay this bill. That's not right. First, you pay for the obligations you've already incurred. First, you pay the bill, and then you change your spending habits, and that's the way it ought to be. Senators, at the end of the day, we must realize that it was Congress's inability to act that led to all these consequences for the American people, the people whom we are supposed to serve. Because we cannot afford for this to happen again, we must give the power to the president to raise the debt ceiling so he or she can make sure it gets raised in a prompt manner so that these consequences will not have to be suffered once more. With that, I urge your strongest vote on the affirmation of this piece of legislation today.